All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Passionately Speaking, our weekly call where we talk about advanced topics with public speaking and how we can be a better speaker and get our message to the world. And today we're talking about how to speak to multi-dimensional, multicultural audiences and not leave anyone behind, not let anyone feel left out, but instead bring them into the fold. And that is a talent. This is advanced because most of us speak to very niche oriented audiences. We'll speak to, like myself, to entrepreneurs and business owners, specifically people that want to get business. So I know how to talk to them backwards and forwards. They all are going for the same goal there, and that's to get business. They're there to hear my talk because they want to generate leads, get more referrals, and close more business. Period. End of story. Very simple, very clear cut. But sometimes that's not always the case. A lot of times I'll speak to different audiences. I'm asked to speak to different audiences, maybe teenagers, aliens, I call them now, teenagers, or other groups that is not necessarily my niche market, but there still could be somebody in there. But we want to speak whenever we get the opportunity. And so we need to be ready if we speak to multicultural, multidimensional types of audiences. So, how do we do that and not leave behind? How do we do that and include everyone in the conversation and make them feel wanted, needed, and of course, keep their attention, which is really what we want to do. You never know. It could be that one person that's in your audience that you've maybe in your mind you've kind of discounted because you don't think they're going to buy from you. And I'm going to caution you on that because you just never know. The most unlikely people will come to you and buy from you. There was this woman in one of my audiences in San Diego. I drove 2 hours to get there. It was a beautiful, beautiful venue and a beautiful group, but she kept, it was at night, and she kept nodding off, nodding off. And I'm like, I came this close to just saying something, just that little devil in me went, we're going to say something. But I didn't. And I advise you not to do that, right? But it was late at night, drove a long way, and I just kind of wanted to just tease her or something, right? But I refrained from saying anything. Lo and behold, that was the woman that came up to me, and I was only selling a $400 program at the time, 397. But because she was asleep, she didn't hear that, and she came up to talk to me about my speaker training, which was a $4,000 program at 3997. Not my mastermind, but my actual 4-day speaker training. And bam, right, bought on the spot. So you just never know. So don't tease anybody. Keep that little what do you call it? That little Jekyll in its little box, because you just never know who is going to buy from you. So, how do we talk to these groups so that we can reach all of them and not just a few? And again, I've done this many times. One time I was speaking at Toyota, big group, big leadership conference. It just happened to be at Toyota. Yes, there was Toyota leaders there, and they were all different ages and all different, careers. And I remember, I did this whole big speech, and it was a big auditorium and I had to reach people way in the back, which is again another challenge you might run across. But I remember this man coming up to me at the very end and commending me on how great a job I did in reaching, this multi-age type of audience, from young people to really old people that have served and been in leadership for many, many years, for many decades. And that's exactly what you want to be able to do. So I'm going to give you some tips tonight on how you can do it and what to look for. You're going to stay true to your speech. That's a given. All right. So, like Lisa talks about insurance, you're still what I'm talking about. You still talk about insurance. You're not going to change your topic necessarily. You could, and I'll give you some examples, but I'm not saying to do that right off the bat. I'm saying you still be you, you do you, but you do some changes in how you deliver to them. so that their ears will open so that they will pay attention to you and maybe eventually buy from you or have you speak to their group. That's what we want as the speaker. Either invite me to speak to somebody else or another group or buy from me. Those two things, that's really all we want. We're really not asking for referrals, although you could, we're really not asking, we want leads, yes, but really there's two bottom lines. Buy from me, which might mean a two-step close, which might mean, yes, you generate the lead first, you go and visit with them, you go do a one-on-one with them, yes. But it's really your heart of hearts is saying, I want business, I want clients. And then there's, get me a speaking engagement. Because if you can't be a client of mine, maybe you can, recommend another group where they will want to be a client of mine. So if you stay focused on those two things, then you know what your close is and you know how to deliver your speech. All right? Don't cloud it with a bunch of I want this and I want that. No, two things. So one of the overall things that we want to do to all of our audiences, and that is make them feel like stars, right? Make them feel like the star. Now, that's not number one on my list, but that's the overall. The overall thing that you're trying to do is make your audience feel good, feel like they're the stars. Not you. You're not coming out going, I'm the star, I'm the celebrity. No, you make them feel special and important. And we've talked about this by saying thank you and being polite and calling them by name, and all of that's a given, but you just pour it on a little thicker, right? Especially to the young people. Now, the young people are not want to be called out. When I say young, I'm talking high school age, not 30s. Yeah, for me, there's a lot of young. But if you're really talking to high school, you have to be sensitive. The high school kids don't want to be called out. They don't. So stay away from calling them out, but call on the old ones. Maybe their teacher, maybe their counselor, maybe they're, someone where they can look and kind of laugh and giggle at them, but somebody that wouldn't, be put on the spot. So that's kind of how you handle those kind of groups. I try to stay away from high school groups, although I've been asked many times to talk to them and motivate them and inspire them. And that's not my cup of tea. They're very challenging because they won't respond. They'll just sit here like this, right? How many of you talked to teenagers like in a classroom situation before? Anyway, I mean, right? Am I right? I mean, do they still do this? They just sit there, right? They don't respond. You can't even read their face. They're just like this, Sometimes they're listening to music in their iPods, whatever they can get away with. Yeah, on their phone, texting. So it's a real challenge for a speaker to speak to those groups. But most of the time, that's not what you're going to speak at. I just want to bring that up as an extreme. But most of the time, there'll be people in business, leadership, churches, spiritual people that are anywhere from probably, 25 to 75 or 85, right? I mean, that depending on the group that we're talking to. So if you take a span of that many people, right? What is that, 50 years? Right? Is that 50 years? Anybody with a calculator? Is that 50 or 60 years? Right? That's a challenge for any speaker to do. So again, overall, you want them to be the stars. You want to pour into them. But we're going to spell out the word stars today. We're going to spell out stars. And the S in the first S, I'm going to say just keep it simple. Keep it simple. When you it's like, I hate this term, but you've heard it before, dummy it down, right? Dummy it down. I hate that term. I don't know who came up with it, but that's a horrible term. But just keep it simple, right? That the 80-year-old can understand and the 30-year-old. Now, what does that mean? That means you have to be very careful what you're talking about in terms of technologies, in terms of Facebooks or social media or apps or all of that, because you have to assume that the 75, 80-year-old is not going there. That's not their generation. Yes, there's always exceptions to the rule, but as a normal suggestion, you can't. So if Jackie, if you were saying, yeah, you want to go on, a fitness program, just go to myfitness.com app or something. You're going to lose the older people, right? We have to think of ways that we can capture everyone. So Jackie, in Jackie's case, when she says you want to eat every color of the rainbow, I don't care if you're 10 years old or you're 90. We all get that. We can understand that, and it's a lesson. Do you see the difference now? That's what I'm talking about when you keep it simple. Keep it level so everybody can understand it. Whether it's insurance you're talking about, whether it's God you're talking about, right? Whatever it is, keep it simple. Unless you know you're talking to a crowd that, like Dr. Luana, if she wants to say how to get clients with TikTok, well, then they're there to learn about TikTok. That's different, right? There's always exceptions. I'm talking about that general, like if you're there to talk about leadership or you're there to talk about health or you're there to talk, yeah, keep it simple, very simple. Okay, keep it simple. All right. Okay. So that's the first S. The T stands for, and the rest of these I have two. Trends. Yes, trends and talents. Trends and talents. Either one of those or a combo of both of those. Yes, and when I talk about trends, trends in the health industry, right? Now is the time where you could talk about, a lot of things are online in the health industry. You know, get your grandkids to help you, right? That kind of thing. I'm a grandma and I get my grandkids to, that you can help the older, generation that way. Or you can say, pick up the phone and call your doctor. Don't hesitate. That kind of thing. So always give them a solution for all ages, a solution to whatever problem you are solving. See, we're speaking to solve a problem. We're not speaking to blow hot air. We're always speaking to solve a problem, right? How to have better health, how to get closer to God, how to get, health insurance so that you're all set up when you die and you don't have to worry about, your relatives don't have to worry about where to put you or how to pay for it. I mean, it's always a problem we're solving. And if you're not solving a problem, then rethink what you're speaking about. Rethink it because it won't have the same impact on people. They won't remember. It's like, oh, that was nice. And we've all heard speakers like that. They're storytellers. They make us laugh. But then at the end of the day, we look at our notes and we go, I didn't learn anything. That was nice, but I don't think I got the meat. And we always want some meat. So make sure you're giving your audience the meat or some. All right, so it's okay to talk about trends as long as you address all the entire audience, or not every single age, obviously, but every kind of generation. And then talents. Say you don't want to do trends or trends in the health industry is not as important. Talk about talents. How, something to do with their talents, not your talents, but their talents. Everybody, God has given everybody gifts, given us all our own unique talents, that kind of thing, right? And talk about that. So it's not something that's measured by technology, but something that is measured internally. So talents, treasures, trends, any of that stuff is good to talk about. All right. And keeping it, again, simple. The A, I have a couple for A. Number one, acknowledge your audience. Always be acknowledging them. It's less important what you say and what you teach than it is to acknowledge them for participating, for listening, for nodding their head when you want them to nod their head. All of that. Ask them some questions, then acknowledge them for answering. or for asking questions, acknowledge them. Well, that's a great question. And let me answer it this way. Really pour in the love onto them because it doesn't matter how old you are. You still have the same kind of feelings. Encourage, if you notice only the older people are asking, for questions, encourage some of the younger folks by asking them. The handsome gentleman in the red shirt. I have a question for you, blah, 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 or something like that. Or you look like you have a question. You have to be careful. You don't want to put them on the spot by saying, you look like you have a question. What do you want to ask? But you can turn it around and go and ask them a question. When it comes to food, what is your favorite food? Keep it simple. Whatever the question is, make sure they can answer it. Don't put them on the spot, make it highly complicated. But if you're talking about health, what's your favorite go-to meal? Do you like hamburgers? Where do you buy your hamburgers? Do you love In-N-Out? Whatever it might be. Keep it really simple, something that they can practically say a little more than yes to, make it open-ended so that they can speak a little bit. But encourage that. Remember, your audience lives vicariously through who's ever participating. The other A is specifically for audience participation, meaning you create it for the whole audience, not just the individual, like the examples I just told you, but audience participation. So how do you do that? Easily, you can have a topic and let's say you just want to simply have everybody introduce themselves. Turn to the person next to you and introduce yourself. Or everybody stand up and find a person that looks like you, right? And it depends how much time you have and how much kind of activity and energy you want to create in the room. But it creates energy, right? Everybody get up and find somebody with the same color eyes you have. I mean, it's fun and they get to know other people. People will do it. One of the things I did, and for those of you that come to my $1 Million Speaker Summit, I would have selfie madness, selfie mania. Remember, Lisa? Selfie mania! And everybody would get up and have to take selfies of each other, right? And it was just 4 or 5 minutes of just sheer fun. And they got to know each other and they had crazy, they went up to strangers, and because I created a safe place for them to do that and made it fun. So they didn't even have to say anything, just choo-choo, choo-choo. And, and then they posted them and it was just a lot of fun. So there's a lot of things like that you can do. Just be creative. Just remember, you have to have time. Can't do something like that in a 10-minute speech. Sometimes it takes a few minutes to get them back to settle down. Depends on what your objective is. But when you have a big group and you have at least an hour, you need some of that heavy duty audience participation, right? To break it up. Otherwise, people, especially at night, they could be falling asleep. If it's a small audience, you could do small audience participation, like have everybody write a certain thing on a piece of paper, like the beginning of the year is happening, so goal setting's really big. So you can share with everybody, write down your top 3 goals. All right, who would like to share? That kind of thing. But I like the full-blown audience participation where everybody can move and do something. So if you can do it, that's always a good idea. Okay, because again, the older people are talking to the younger people and vice versa, right? I did that. One gal did that stage I was in SCORE. And I'm telling you, to this day, me and that girl, they said, okay, find somebody that looks like you, right? Now, this girl that I met was a beautiful Black woman, but we looked at each other and we went, yeah, our energy matched. And to this day, we are still friends. And was on my scoreboard. I asked her to be on my scoreboard. For the last 5 years, she was on my board. And it all came from that speaker's audience participation like that. So it was priceless, just priceless. So I'm telling you, it works. Yeah, so try that, your next speech. Oh, I got goosebumps just talking about it. All right, the R and the R. What do you think the R is for? It's always for the same thing. What do you think the R is for? Jackie, do you know? What am I big on?
Relatable.
Results?
Practice, rehearse.
Rehearse. Yes.
Yeah.
Rehearse. So even though you might have your signature talk, if you deliver it to a multidimensional group, you need to practice these new things that you insert. Now, we're going to get down to stories in a minute, but whatever stories, quotes, whatever you use, you have to practice them because they might be different and they might be new. So if you're talking to a group of salesmen, let's say, and they're all over the board, well, if your examples are real estate, they're not going to land. You've got to have new stories, new examples, and new quotes. So you need to look up a quote by Tommy Hopkins if it's real estate. But if it's sales, it might be whatever the head sales guru is, whoever that is, right? You have to do some research, right? Research and then rehearse it. When I was on a ship in going down the Nile River, and I got a chance to speak. This is about 15 years ago, right in Egypt. And I was speaking to a big, large group of, it was somebody else's mastermind. It was back then, a $25,000 mastermind. And so part of it was the ship, and part of it was training from people like myself that we didn't have to pay, but we had to pay our own way, right? We didn't get a free ride. But anyway, I got an opportunity to speak. Not everybody did. I did, and that was wonderful. But everybody was from different places. They were from Hong Kong. They were from Australia. They were from Canada. They were from all over. Well, I do my example that I always do or did back then because I didn't know about these things then. And that was that was the example of the old 50s commercial when E.F. Hutton speaks, everybody, right? Y'all know it, right? Luana, you know it, right? Well, guess what? That's only in the States. And it's only if you're like a certain age. So the young people didn't get it. And certainly the people from Hong Kong and Australia didn't have a clue what I was talking about. So I learned in that moment a very important lesson. And that is even in your jokes, your examples, they have to be, pertinent to the audience. And you have to take in consideration. I'd have been better just to leave it out. It's not like you have to think, oh God, I have to have a joke to replace it. Maybe you just leave it out. That's all. But very important for you to research and then rehearse any new quotes or stories, examples, or metaphors that you're going to insert into your speech. Got it? Very important. And if you're speaking to young people, you want, again, a younger example. Ask your grandkids, ask your, whoever's younger than you. I had to speak to a high school, a senior group that was an advanced group in business, a specialty group. But I asked several young people, how do people talk? What do they do? And of course, and this was a while back, but they were like, yeah, they talk in text language, right? LOL and all that stuff. I'm like, what? I had to get a crash course so I could talk to them on their level, in their language. Not to be cool. I wasn't trying to be the cool speaker. I was just trying to communicate, right? And get their respect that, I could relate to them and that they can keep their attention. Because that's what we want to do because it's so quick. They're so quick to zoom out. And then you look for those star students in the room that will participate because many of them, it's not like they don't participate, but they're shy. I don't know how you were, but I was very shy in high school. I didn't want anybody to see me you're afraid to do the wrong thing. I don't know what that is. Not everybody's like that, but it seems like the majority of high school students lack confidence. They haven't learned it yet. They haven't matured enough to have it, right? And so you have to keep that in mind when you're speaking to them, to speak with them, right? And not to them. Big difference. Okay, that's the R. And the last S, of course, is for stories, right? Stories, examples, all of that I just talked about. We have to make them fresh. We have to make them relate to the audience. We have to make it so simple so it fits everybody in the audience and not just a few. If we're talking about health, we don't want to talk about heart attacks if we got 30-year-old people in the room. Not that they can't have one, but that can't be the dominating factor, right? Whatever it is, because they'll just go, oh, I'm too young, I'm not listening, right? We want them to listen. So we want to talk about stuff they can do, food and fruit and vitamins and exercise and sleep and something that pertains to everyone so that we don't lose anybody. Now, doesn't mean you can't slip in a story about a young person that maybe was doing too much, had a heart attack, or a young person that maybe took too many steroids and took it to too far of a level, that kind of thing. That's fine, but just make sure that it fits the majority of your audience. Okay. All right. So that's what we have. Stars. That's how you can make your audience feel like a star and reach beyond just the surface level or just your niche market. It's really challenging. I want you to try it, this multi-generational type of audience, because it is so different now. The older you get, the more challenging it can be, right? More challenging it can be. And even though the 40-year-old might seem really young, that's could be your target market because they're the ones that are like starting to, spend money. Their kids are starting to get into school, that kind of thing. You don't have to wait till someone's retired to have the money to buy your products and services, depending on what your products and services are, right? Okay, so that wraps up our discussion today. So let's go around the room and see if there's any stories or experiences that you have had talking to multi-generation audiences. All right, let's start with Jackie. She was the first one in the room.
Well, I'm actually very excited because today I just landed they needed somebody with a sports background, and I just landed a speaking gig for which I'm going to be paid. Woohoo!
Woo!
Yeah, woohoo! And it's for the Springs Charter School classified employees, and that's everybody except teachers. So everybody that manages facilities, does IT, coaches, all kinds of people. So this will be, I mean, this is perfect speech because this is multi-generational, all kinds of different jobs. And, they basically want me to talk about how to have a winning attitude, which is like really cool. So I'm very excited, and I use some of your skills in trying to negotiate a price. I waited till the end, and I said, so we just haven't talked about, because she said we'll pay you before we ever talk, before we were ever got together. And so I said, so what kind of, and it's an hour speech. What kind of a budget do you have? And she told me, and so then we came up with a price, and it was better than what I thought it was going to be. So that was really good. So this is really timely for me today because that's in February.
Oh, good. All right. And where is it? Local?
Temecula.
Oh, nice. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. Dawn, you're up.
I don't have any experience.
Okay, perfect. All right.
Sorry.
Yeah. All right. Claudine.
I don't think I have a lot of experience with speaking with multi-generational groups. Like last month, I spoke with a group of women. What was different about it was that they were all pastors.
Oh,
Yeah. But in the past, I've spoken with a lot of young people, I had to do information sessions and things like that. But and I've spoken in churches just to the groups of people. They were men and women, and yeah, that was it. I just studied and prayed and you know talked about what I was there to talk about. That was about it. It wasn't no kind of focus or no guideline or nothing that I followed. I just read and prayed and spoke.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's go to Lisa.
Since I'm a final expense agent, and as I was sharing in our networking meeting today, how final expense insurance has been, in my opinion, incorrectly marketed. It's marketed to people who are ill, older, and who can't get your standard life insurance. And I have discovered in my planning of meeting with people is that the target demographic that's being ignored is really the ideal candidate for final expense insurance, which is the much younger person because they have age and they have health on their side, which would give them the lowest premiums and the highest benefits. So I'm tailoring my presentations and speeches to include the younger demographic of their actually final expense insurance is for everyone, really not, even though it's when you see commercials with Colonial Penn, you see grandparents and gardens with grandchildren, you don't see young professionals in boardrooms, with in staff meetings, and that it really needs to change in the industry. But, it's kind of the way it is. But I know what I have to do to tailor my presentations to include uh, demographic of younger people and to rename it from final expense insurance or final expense plans to Smart Start financial planning. And that's exactly how I am going to present it because it is the smartest thing they can do at their young age is to start now and not wait until they get older. So that's what I'm seeing even in my industry.
I like that you said smart. What?
Smart Start financial planning.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Lisa. All
Mm-hmm.
right. Dr. Luana, how are you doing today?
Well, I am still speaking. In fact, I was down your way last month. You know Randy Powell, don't you? Anyway, he invited me to come down and speak, so I did. Um, I haven't really been pushing anything because I've been writing. And
Good.
I've been really enjoying doing that. I wrote one romance story already, and I just finished another one that I'm proofreading and getting ready to start a third one. So, yeah, that's where I've been focusing all my attention on. I finally decided as much as I read them, I should be writing. So that's what I'm doing.
Your own love story. I love
But I
it.
have talked to young people in the past. And when I was on TikTok, I talked to them quite a bit. And the thing that I found they were interested in, because they were always asking me questions about what was it like when I was a teenager,
Mm.
as a young adult, uh, what what you could or couldn't do, and things like that. And they always were just fascinated about the difference in what it was like when we were teenagers. I remember somebody asking me one time, is it true that boys had to get dressed up when they asked you out on a date? I said they not only had to get dressed up when they came and knocked on the door, your dad had to approve them. Otherwise, you weren't going anywhere. And so yeah, young people are looking for a direction. And so it's up to us now to provide that for them. And that's what I get. That's the enjoyment I get out of talking to young people.
Love it.
Mhm.
And the man paid for the date.
Mhm. Yeah.
All right, Freddie.
Mhm. Yeah.
Freddie,
Yeah.
yeah.
Even though
Yep.
they think we come from the dinosaur age, they still are interested in what it was like.
Okay, Freddie, you're up.
Okay, so I was originally going to say no, I haven't spoken to a multicultural group, but that's not true. I actually spoke at a networking group that I'm a part of, and the leader over it asked me to talk about faith because he knew different things that were going on in my life. And he said, "You talk about it all the time." So I did a speech on faith, belief, and trust in your business. And it went over really well. I, had some people contact me afterwards. From going through the training with you, it really gave me like thoughts on how to start the speech off and get people intertwined in. So, pulling people in, asking questions, but it seemed that it went over well and people liked it.
Wonderful. How long was that speech?
It was 10 minutes.
Beautiful. Good. Beautiful. Okay. Anybody else have anything they want to share? Okay, so I have announcements. So Tommy came on last week and talked about his book, and he did make #1 author in men's spirituality and #2 author in women's spirituality. So for those of you that helped him, he's grateful. He was going to be here on the call today, but couldn't. But he will be also having a book signing on the 14th of December. And that's where you can come and buy his book. It's really well written. It's called When Life Gives You Lemons. And of course, it's very spiritual, but he just really did a good job using the whole lemon metaphor over and over again. And, how, the sweet this and bittersweet that. And, so it's pretty incredible. Lisa, did you go to his party recently? He had a small gathering.
No,
Uh,
I didn't. I wasn't able to go.
Okay, I just wonder if you want to report on it. Yeah, he had a small gathering last weekend. I couldn't go, and he was like worried about the rain and saying he was going to cancel. And I said, why don't you just keep it, have a small one, into
Right,
pre
right,
pre-launch gathering, and then have your big one later when it's not ready.
right.
We decided to do so. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So,
had planned on going to the one he was having Sunday.
oh, okay.
Yeah, I could
Then he
go.
texted me and said, "Now we're canceling it."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, he just kept it for just a few. Well, because he had to move it in his house, and so he
Yeah.
yeah,
later and just moved it into his house for a few small friends and people. But he didn't want you to drive all that way in the rain.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah. It was kind of a nasty day. But I have read portions of the book and I immediately did a review for him so he'd get a review.
yeah. So did I. A testimonial. Yeah.
Hmm.
So the 14th, Jackie, at 2 o'clock. Keep
Would
that open.
okay.
Yeah.
You know what time?
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock. Okay. Is that a Sunday again?
Yes.
Yeah. It's a Sunday again. Yeah. But hopefully it's not a rainy Sunday.
Yeah.
And that'll be the big 60-person event with cater and balloons and everything. So for those of you that are in the California, I know Claudine, you can't participate, but or can Luana, but Freddie, you could come, and Lisa, you could come as well.
Mhm. Yeah, I plan to be there.
Okay, so that's our call for today. Next week, we're going to go back. I have all your goals written down that you did, your speaking goals. So we're going to check them out a little bit before the end of the year because we still have time to catch up and do a few more. So I hope you've all been keeping track and keeping your commitment of your speaker goals. You probably have a lot more than you thought you would if you kept track. Remember, any speech that's to two or more people, 2 minutes or more, that's a prepared speech, not on fly off the cuff speech, but something you sat down and you prepared that has that kind of beginning and the ending and the meat in the middle, that counts. All right, so we'll see how you do. So I just want to give you a heads up before next week. All right, okay. Well, everybody, will see you next week. Have a great week. Get out there and speak. And when you do speak, remember to always speak with passion. Mwah. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.